Hello, everyone, and welcome in. I can't do the whole thing by myself. We welcome you in. Selection Sunday, college football. The bracket is released. I don't know about your thoughts. I don't know about Will's thoughts. We're going to talk about it here live on the show over the next 30, 45 minutes. So what did we learn? Does Notre Dame need to join a conference? And this group of five thing, what are we doing here? We're going to expand the playoff. We're going to give the group of five their own playoff. We'll talk about that more in today's episode of The Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
All right, welcome in. My name is Bryce Koon. I'm getting into focus. Will, did you like how I, once again, start off the show, you myself, unable to do anything correctly?
Yeah, you started talking. I didn't hear anything. So, naturally, I thought, what in the world have I done? Because, I don't know how to work any type of technology. But it was you this time. So
yeah, it was
nice. It was nice for it not to be my own fault for a change.
Evil Will, per dev. I don't know.
Why am I evil?
I don't know. I don't know why you're evil. Or maybe Will's secret twin. Oh, maybe because you sabotage the show. That's what they're saying. You sabotage my audio. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Who knows? College football playoff released. The bracket is released. Will, we were texting about this. What would happen? What could we see happen here as well? I guess and Gavin's working on. Gavin, you're still working on a graphic, I guess, with the full playoff. We're going to talk a lot of things. We're going to talk G5. We're going to talk about the Miami versus Notre Dame debate. Talk about Alabama, which I know you're not thrilled to talk about. But just your initial reaction. What do you think here to begin with?
Well, first of all, I'm saying Will has a different background. That's why. Yeah, road game for me. Transitioning. That's probably not the right word to use, but things are moving. Things are moving and shaking in my life.
There you go.
So initial reaction of the 12?
Yeah, like what was your just initial? We'll dive into some of the obviously the nitty gritty of the 12 team of the G5 and Miami Notre Dame. Just like what do you think about the initial reaction to this release? What do we learn?
I'm going to steal Chris Fowler's his initial reaction, which I am in full agreement with. It is probably the most consequential playoff field we've ever had. With Notre Dame being left out, with the ACC champ being left out, the ACC representative Miami being an at-large, with Lane Kiffin leaving and not coaching Ole Miss in the playoffs. I mean, that's the first time we've seen a playoff team's head coach leave and not coach their team. There's so many storylines of this playoff. I think the storylines are actually going to be better than the games, which I think happens quite a bit in college football. But I think for this playoff, especially the first round, maybe the first two rounds, the storylines are probably going to be better than the games. Getting in a little bit into the nitty gritty, we're going to see Tulane go to Oxford again, and we already saw this, right? We saw Ole Miss just beat the brakes off of Tulane in the regular season. I think it's easy to say that this is probably the best example of the old cliche. Well, these are two completely different teams. I think that's really the case for this matchup. Ole Miss is completely different than they were in that game. I think Tulane is completely different. So that's interesting to see. This is the first. We really haven't had this come up in the playoff era. We've seen teams from the same conference play each other twice, but now a first round matchup is a regular season rematch.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with that too. I mean, I think looking at it and saying, "Hey, look, yeah, you just go off that previous matchup. That was what 3 months ago. It was a September matchup between those two teams. Look, saying that, of course, you can pull some things from the game, but I mean, Lane Kiffin's not going to be there now. Charlie Weiss Jr. is going to be the play caller for Ole Miss in this. Yeah, there you go, Zach.
That
It
shows
is a
that.
Falcons shirt. Will's got plus 6.5 this today against the Seahawks, so he's vibing. But do notice he's not at the game; he's here. But yeah, I guess the initial reaction to me is, and I just want to start with this. Let's just talk about Alabama here. Let's just dive into this because here's my case for why Alabama got in. This is why it is. And Gavin just finished this, and so we'll put this up here. The initial reaction to what we're looking at here. And I'll take this banner off as well so everyone can see it. If you're listening, it's going to be kind of hard for you to follow along. Maybe you already know. Will Alabama not even budging, not even moving, I think is what's the biggest thing to me. They're going to play at Oklahoma this time, Oklahoma, Tuscaloosa, and beat Alabama this year. Look, you're going to have some redundancy in matchups, especially with the conferences and what you have going on. But with this path, with what Alabama did, to me, Will, you cannot sit there and punish a team for losing the conference title game. We saw it last year with SMU, a little bit of a different situation. SMU, I believe, was 8 at the time when they lost that game. They don't really drop. I think they dropped, 11, 10, a couple, maybe 1 or 2 spots in that bracket. SMU gets in. The conversation here I've been having in the Discord with some people is, well, what about BYU? And Gavin and I were talking about this right before you hopped on it. The thing for me is Alabama is going to be propped up by having the road win against Georgia. They have told us it matters. That win is arguably, can we make the argument, Will, a top 3 win this season, going to Georgia and beating them? Top 4 win.
It's probably the best win, individual win by any team this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's seriously.
I want to vomit saying that.
Yeah, well, and I know. And Joey brings up a good point. If you didn't put Alabama in there would be no more conference championship games. The SEC would have, said, we're not doing this. They would have just said, we're not doing this anymore. There's no point. Alabama was always, in my opinion, going to get in. Now, I did put out a bracket last night that didn't have them in because I didn't know if they would put them in, but I felt like in my heart they might. You can never escape the allegations. Auburn snub, best 7 lost to him. Dev says the best win is Indiana over Ohio State. Neutral site thing for me is going to put the fact that they went into Athens and beat them. I think that makes it the best win. But to the point, just to ask you here, do you feel like, because people keep wanting to bring up the loss to Florida State in week 1. And to me, I don't understand what that does for you because Alabama has more than, in my opinion, enough wins to counteract that loss. They played enough opponents at the time that were solid or ranked at the time to go do that. Did they have a shaky month of November? Yeah. You and I watched one of those games in person, a couple weeks ago. They did have a shaky month of November, but the win against Georgia and the fact that they made the playoff or made the SEC title game as the number 1 seed, by the way, in the SEC, it was never going to happen. They were never going to let them out. There's too much at stake.
Right. Well, I've got an opinion on the SEC championship, but we're talking about Alabama. Yeah, the Florida State loss is really bad, right? They lose 31-17 on the road. But I agree with you 100%. I mean, they won 10 games. You look at the rest of their schedule and the way they did it. They go on the road. They beat Georgia by 3. They host number 16 Vanderbilt. They beat them 30-14. They go on the road and beat number 14 Missouri. They host number 11 Tennessee at home, beat them by 17. LSU rivalry game, interim head coach. You can talk about how bad LSU was, but there's storylines that help keep LSU in that game. They find a way to win 20-9, lose close to Oklahoma. You go to Auburn and play in the Iron Bowl against an Auburn team with nothing to lose. We've seen that matchup many times where the underdog is a team that has nothing to lose and comes away winning the game. And Alabama found a way to win on the road with some help from the referees. I have to throw that in there. But they found a way to win it. So yeah, they're deserving, as sick as that makes me to say it. And they are a good football team. I think that with 12 teams, you can't argue that they're not one of the best 12 teams or even 14 teams, since we have 2 group of 5 teams in here.
Yeah.
As far as conference title goes, the SEC could say, well, we're not going to play this. We're not going to play a title game. But ESPN has paid way too much money for these TV rights to not let that happen. We know that ESPN owns the college football playoff, so they were going to be in there. They're not going to punish the SEC champion. And the Big 12 title game, I've seen a lot of talk about this. Of course, it has to do with Auburn, and so I'm seeing the Auburn slant of it. You talk about BYU being punished. We've seen losers of conference title games be punished before. I know it was a long time ago, different playoff era, the 4-team era. Auburn 2017 goes into the SEC title game ranked number 2 in the country.
Mm-hmm.
They lose to Georgia, I think by the same score as the game.
28-7, I believe,
28-7. And Auburn gets left out. I think Auburn fell all the way to 7, losing that game. Now, I know it was 4-team. It was their 3rd loss of the year. I get all that. But we've seen it before, right? We've seen where the loser of a conference title game is punished. And for BYU, that was their 2nd loss to Texas Tech. So for me, I don't really have any issues with them being out, especially in the fashion that Texas Tech beat them. They dominated from the 2nd quarter on.
Both games.
Yeah, really. Yeah, both games they dominated. So really no surprise. I really don't have any issues.
I don't have an issue with BYU being left out. Looking at their schedule right now, their best win, I mean, they've got a win at Arizona, 33-27 back in October 11th. They beat Utah in a home game, which we obviously know that's obviously a big rivalry game, the Holy War, a 3-point win at home against Utah. Like you mentioned, they lost to Texas Tech back in November, 29-7. That was a very convincing game. And then they beat Cincinnati at home or on the road, 26-14. So their best wins are probably Cincinnati, Utah, and Arizona. When you compare that, like that's why when you compare that to Alabama, the Alabama wins over Tennessee, Missouri, Vanderbilt, Georgia, like those are 4 outweighing those 3. And the win, I'm just going to keep telling you, the win over Georgia is massive. Now, I will say this: you could make the argument, what's the point of playing the conference title game if yesterday really meant nothing? That is a point that I think a side narrative to this is that we learned is this conference title game, all it did was just crown an SEC champion. And I don't know if you felt like this. Yes.
It's a ton for the coaches because they get a hefty bonus for winning that game.
A hefty bonus. And we'll see, one of those things where if going forward, how teams go about this, because, we'll have another data point. And that's why I brought that. Dev said Mizzou and Tennessee on quality wins list. I mean, yeah, like at some point you've got to – everyone can't be terrible. Everyone can't be terrible. So there's that. Well, it's rigged. If I just kind of sit there and think, and we'll get to this, Dev. We'll talk ACC. We'll probably talk more in depth about this tomorrow night. I think a complete overhaul of the tiebreaker rules needs to happen in the ACC because that was ridiculous. Incredible game, fun game. Like from a college football fan, it sucked knowing. And I know Manny Diaz has to posture for what he wants to posture for. It sucked knowing that it meant nothing for Duke. Yeah. Like that did, because they played their tails off, and they're
does that elevate Duke into the Pop-Tart Bowl?
Oh, did you see? Brett McMurphy has said that if essentially talking with AC source, if Notre Dame didn't get in because Notre Dame has some ACC bowl tie-ins, it's going to completely screw up everything.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame could go to the Pop-Tart Bowl now.
Well,
Duke, it looks like Georgia Tech could be by the way, for Tech fans, it looks like maybe the Gator Bowl is where you may be playing against Tennessee or Missouri.
Duke winning last night just threw everything off. It got Miami into the playoff. It got James Madison into the playoff. And like you said, it is ruined. It is not ruined, but really messed up bowl tie-ins, which were pretty much set. I mean, we've seen the Big Tens, they were settled.
Yeah.
Right? Brett McMurphy tweeted those out. So Duke, I mean, that ACC title game, the most consequential game of the postseason, without a doubt. It was the catalyst for all these moving pieces.
A couple of lines for you, opening lines, whereas we still have this the graphic up. Alabama going to be a 1.5 point favorite from our friends over at FanDuel. 1.5 point favorite at Oklahoma. A&M a 4.5 point favorite at home against Miami. Ole Miss, 17.5 point favorite at home against Tulane, and Oregon, a 21.5 point favorite.
We'll see. Alabama favored?
Vegas.
These two teams played each other already.
Vegas, I guess. And now you're playing it at their place in a playoff atmosphere. It's probably honestly because Oklahoma's offense has been abysmal lately. It's bad. But hey, Ty Simpson has not looked like himself over the past month there as well. So, another hypothetical win for the ACC by our friend Fetz. So had to throw that one in there because we always get clowned on our hypothetical wins for the SEC. Let's talk about this real quick.
Fetz, I would agree with you. You're right.
No, I don't know about Virginia.
Thanks to the tiebreakers.
Maybe. Miami Notre Dame debate. Let's talk about it, Will. This to me, look, you can be mad if you're a Notre Dame fan. Will, if they would have put Notre Dame in over Miami, it would have been a massive – you would have never seen teams schedule big games anymore. What is the point of them? Look, what would the point of Miami challenging themselves and Notre Dame challenging themselves? Well, what's the point of that? It's like, seriously. And, Steve Sarkisian has been getting blamed a lot lately for crying about stuff. I think he's got a great point. Like, why do you play the games? Like, why would you play that game? What benefit does it have to you? Texas, and here's something people maybe don't want to hear, Texas would have been better off playing Sam Houston State in week 1 than Ohio State.
They would have.
They would have. So, for Miami to beat Notre Dame, that had to mean something. I don't understand any debate, and I'm dead serious about this. I don't understand any debate for Notre Dame over Miami. I don't care how you've looked. I don't care what you've done. If you're going to take in the whole body of work, which you and I have been very adamant about, you have to acknowledge that they beat each other, and they're Miami beat Notre Dame, and that has to mean something. If not, why even play the games? Let's let a computer don't play games from August to November, and let's just let a computer simulate everything like you and I do with our dynasties on EA, and roll from there. To me, it's very cut and dry. I do not see an argument other than Notre Dame fans and fan-led media trying to say they should be in and ignoring the big thing they played each other, and Miami won.
Yeah, the big one is the head-to-head, and that should mean more than anything else. But I understand the arguments for Notre Dame. I mean, they won 10 games in a row to finish the year. The 2 games they lost, Miami on the road by 3, Texas A&M at home by 1. They lost 2 games by 4 points. So they're not far off from being in the top 12. I think they are one of the 12 best teams in the country. They just don't get in, mostly because they're not in a conference. And you can look at, we talk about Notre Dame having ACC tie-ins. What they did against ACC opponents, they beat NC State 36-7, Boston College 25-10, which was probably their worst showing of the year, including in those losses. They beat Pitt 37-15. They beat Syracuse 70-7 and Stanford 49-20. Common opponents here: Miami beat Syracuse 38-10. They beat NC State 41-7. They beat Pitt 38-7. So you got to give the nod to Miami. Head-to-head should mean the most, but then you look at common opponents, and I think Miami did better.
I'm very curious to what the argument was. I didn't know if you were going to push back on that. I don't know an argument for Notre Dame over Miami.
I don't either. I think the only ranked win for Notre Dame was USC, whereas Miami gets Pitt as a ranked win. Florida State was ranked when they played them. South Florida was ranked when they played them, and of course, beating Notre Dame. Trying to see Notre Dame. Yeah, USC. Well, Pitt was ranked when Notre Dame played them. But either way, I mean, Miami deserves it, in my opinion, more than Notre Dame.
Yeah. Take a quick break. We'll tell you about our friends over at Cajun Cousin. When we come back, we will talk a little bit about this group of 5 conversation, and Will, just an absolute detriment. We'll talk about the game times have been released for the first round. We got to watch Miami and A&M play at noon. Kyle Field does not get a home night game for a playoff game, which is just that sucks. That sucks for Aggie fans, which not a lot of people will feel bad for them, but they don't like Aggie fans. But we'll be right back. What's up, everybody? My name is Bryce Koon, and I cover college football here on the Crowded Booth and also over with On3, covering all things LSU. I'm here to tell you about a presenting sponsor this year for us as we get ready to continue tailgate season. It's our friends over at Cajun Cousins Company, based in South Carolina, but serving the entire Southeast with a little bit of that Louisiana flavor. Now, listen, they've got great products. They've got some great merch, including this awesome hat for you LSU fans that I'm rocking right now. But today I want to tell you about something that's going to maybe spice up that tailgate or that event a little bit more. It's Cajun Cousins pepper sauce. Make sure you try it out. Whether it needs to go on the po' boy, whether it needs to go on the fish, or even in some of that jambalaya, make sure you let them know the Crowded Booth sent you and head over to CajunCousins.co.com and get what you need today. Whether it's a family event, whether it's a part of that tailgate here in football season, Cajun Cousins Company is the way to go. All right, sending out a text right now.
While you do that, I'm seeing talk about Texas.
Go ahead.
In the comments. I think I'm kind of in the middle of both sides here, seeing that Texas is not being punished for losing to Ohio State, but to Florida. I agree with that. I think Texas at 10-2 though is probably in because they probably have another dominant win that you could say. I think if they go to Georgia and don't get beat 35-10, they don't get absolutely blown out by Georgia, we're talking about Texas being on the bubble. I think if that's a close loss for Texas, we're talking about them possibly making the playoff. I mean, they finished ranked 13th. So the committee clearly thought that they were.
Texas finished 13th in the final rankings.
I'm going to use my favorite word. The committee thinks they were close. Yeah, I mean, beating Texas A&M 27-17, their final game certainly helps. But yes,
wow.
You can look at the rankings and it shows you what they jumped. They jumped 3 spots in the final.
So give me the top 15. Like who's 10 through 15?
So 10 is Notre Dame, BYU is 11, Miami 12. This is week 15. Is that?
Oh, that's old. That's old. Yeah. Because Miami.
Why is it showing me last week's? Did they only do the 12 today? Did they not?
They only did the 12, but then they go to the next 2 out, which were Notre Dame and BYU.
They must have only done 14 then.
Okay. I was about to say.
Have done a full top 25 post conference title, which I'm cool with. It's pointless. I mean,
well, let me ask you this. Kirk Herbstreit, I don't know if you were watching right after I shot y'all a text, said, hey, we'll go live in 10. Kirk Herbstreit said that essentially these Tuesday night shows they do are stupid. Like, I mean, that's for lack of better words. He pretty much said that on the live show here on Sunday. Like, it sets up drama, and it's probably one of the things where you kind of get to a point to where you're like, hey, we're just doing this for views, which we've kind of been saying for a long amount of time. The fact that I got pushed back against what Reese Davis said. The fact that they pushed Miami over Notre Dame, I think it was a drama set up for 3 or 4 weeks. And what do we say when the first ranking came out? Miami's probably going to get closer and closer to Notre Dame, and they're going to push them over for drama, ratings, and views. Because I'm telling you, Will, if they would have done that, it would have altered college football as we know it. If they would have put Notre Dame in, like you would have completely devalued the regular season at that point, especially head-to-head games. I know we just got done talking about that, but yeah. I do kind of agree with Herbstreit. I think that these Tuesday ranking shows are completely meaningless, and I think Booger McFarland said this too. He said, like, you have to have a full body of work. Like, you can't make this judgment off of,
college football is unique in the sense of it has the most teams of any other sporting league that we watch. It has the least amount of teams make the postseason format of any other league.
Mm-hmm.
And it's honestly completely, I always get these messed up. Subjective. Am I using the right word, or am I supposed to use objective?
Subjective. Yeah, it's up to people's discretion, essentially.
It's whatever people want it to be, right?
Yeah.
And I'll sit here and continue to make this argument that ESPN is way too involved. They own the college football playoff. They're the only network that can broadcast games, or the only network that can officially talk about what is happening. They reveal the rankings. And they are pushing this committee to rank teams and put teams in that are going to get the most eyeballs as a TV network. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be doing that, but for the betterment of the sport, it shouldn't be that way, right? And college football is a regular season sport because there's 136, how many FBS teams there are. We're talking about 12 make the playoff. That's 10%, less than 10%.
Yeah,
it's a regular season sport. The regular season has to matter. And this is for a mentality for everybody. Just because you don't make the playoff does not mean you had a bad season.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
I mean, the easiest example is Georgia Tech, and I know that's most
disappointing end. But yeah,
The season ended poorly, not what you wanted, but you went 9-3. I mean, you should be celebrating finishing 9-3. You shouldn't be upset that you should be upset. Don't
well,
be
it's
careful with my
to
words
your,
here.
yeah.
Yeah,
To your
but
point, it's frustrating to know that 3 weeks ago you had a chance to be in
right.
Charlotte and you
You
didn't. Like
can't
that,
you
yeah,
can't call this season a failure. You went
yeah,
9-3. That's a great year. And we're going to see it more and more that 8-4, 9-3. That's going to be some great football teams that finish 8-4, 9-3, and fans and coaches and players are going to be disappointed because at the end of the day, they get to go play a bowl game that most of them don't care about being in because they want to make the playoff. But it is so difficult to make the postseason in this sport. I mean, that's why if you're 6-6, you can go to a bowl game, or 5-7 if there's not enough 6-win teams, right? But
yeah,
it is so difficult. So it's the point is it's hard to do.
yeah.
You can't call the season a failure if you don't make the playoff unless you're Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State or Indiana, right?
Yeah.
Like, can't do that.
You got to understand what your standards are, and Gavin knows all about the standard. Fett says, and this is a good point that goes along with what you just said, by the way. I wanted to start this comment earlier. He goes, talking about the teams who are better in the ACC, maybe not Virginia. Miami's clearly better than both. I think at least 2 of Georgia Tech, SMU, and Pitt are most likely better. Here's the key comment, Fetz. I wish we actually all played each other so we could figure it out. To Will's point, conferences have gotten way too big that you can't do that. So blame conference realignment to not being able to truly get a true value on who should be in that title game.
Yep.
Look, I mean, there's a case that people could say, hey, Alabama was not playing great football in November. They shouldn't have been in the title game. Like, just because Texas A&M couldn't take care of business, but guess what? A&M and Alabama didn't get to play. And that's a game that sucks that they didn't get to play. We could have seen that on who, A&M fans may feel like that.
If you want to, you just gave me an idea. If we want to look at if the SEC would have divisions, Eastern and Western,
even the ACC, yeah.
Say Oklahoma and Texas Tech or an A&M, excuse me, we're in the West. I would think, well, Oklahoma beat Alabama and they had, 2 conference losses. Both their losses were in conference. And A&M
Oklahoma lost to Texas and A&M lost to Texas.
It would have been A&M versus Georgia. Like Alabama would not have played for the SEC title if it was Western Division.
Yeah.
More than likely. I mean, it's all hypothetical because they both would have had to play Texas A&M, and who knows what would have happened. They didn't play each other.
Well, and that's the problem. The conferences have gotten so big that you can't get a true value of this. I just tweeted out a comment, and I appreciate this person for responding, and I appreciate you responding with real life conversation. I tweeted out, I said, I'm very curious to hear an argument on why Notre Dame should be in over Miami. Is there one that isn't viewed through the lens of an Irish fan? And I mean that essentially a jaded viewpoint, because other than just I think we're better, well, you played and you weren't for that Saturday, and that has to mean something. But Liam Gorman, appreciate you, Liam. I don't know if you're watching right now, but he did respond. He goes, Irish fan here, no problem with the decision, but this should have been done a week or 2 ago. The committee said Miami and Notre Dame were being grouped together weekly, so why wait for a week, especially on that week when neither team played? I think that's a great response to that. It should have been, it goes what we say, it should have been done before. It's for drama, it's for clicks, it's for views. That's the reason they
all
did
year long, or ever since SMU beat Miami, Notre Dame has been ranked ahead of Miami. So how come all of a sudden after conference championship games, neither team played? How is Miami now better than Notre Dame?
Yeah, how do you justify that?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Well, and that's why I'm saying the only way it makes sense is because this was a tool to grab attention. That's all that was. I'm interested to see what Hunter Yurchek says. God help him on that stage. I don't know if he's already spoken or not. Gavin, if you can find any clips of it, I'd love to hear what he has to say. So we talked Miami, Notre Dame. Let's talk about this G5 conversation, Will, because there's a lot of this. Shout out our good friend, Dr. Bob, who stormed the field last night at Yeoman. It's cool. And I don't want to get painted as the big bad wolf here. Like, I don't want to get painted as the person that doesn't want to have, smaller teams to have any fun. But you're leaving out good football teams because a 12-1 James Madison team who has one of the worst strength of schedules out of any top 25 team in the playoffs.
123rd.
Yeah, it's 120 plus. Look, what James Madison did was great. I'm not saying that Duke should have got in over them. we can't have this though. Like the concept that we are putting in a team because they won their conference. It's the idea that all things are equal, and they're not. It's not. The Sun Belt is not equal to the American. Heck, it's not equal to the American. It's not equal to the Big 12, the SEC, the ACC, or the Big 10. This comes down to this, and I'll let you roll with it. You either make a new playoff for the G5, you segregate yourself from the I guess you could go FBS 1A, FBS 2A if you wanted to. They already have that, I know, but in the FCS, but you separate yourself and have your own playoff, or they're going to expand this thing to 16 to 24 teams. Because if I'm truthfully, if I'm Vanderbilt, Texas, BYU, Virginia, I'm like, y'all know, yes, you have to play the game on the field, but the concept that they got in over a team that achieved so much in a tougher conference, that's not fair. That's ridiculous. And I'm not trying to hate on James Madison. I don't think that Bob Chesney, there's a reason he's going to be the head coach at UCLA. He's done a good job. But we can't be doing that. That's ridiculous. It's not a true playoff. Gavin said this before you hopped in. It's not a true playoff for the top 12 teams anyway. That getting 2 G5 teams in this time, and Tulane to me deserves to be in, because I think the American is wildly closer to the rest of the Power Four than the Sun Belt, the Conference USA, shout out Kennesaw State, Mountain West, and those other teams. It's ridiculous to me. And I'm not trying to hate and try to be the big bad wolf and the bully and say, you can't come to the party because we don't like you. But it's not real. We got to be real about it. You can't do what they did and get in over a team that may have had more losses but challenge themselves more.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody can sit here, anybody impartial, nobody affiliated with Tulane or James Madison can sit here and honestly think that one of those two teams can go win the national championship, especially with everything surrounding them. Their coach is leaving. Now, their players, they're certainly going to play inspired. They showed that in their
they responded well.
Games. Yeah. But you can't look at them and honestly say, yeah, they're going to win the national championship. You can't. They don't have the top end talent to compete with these power conference teams. They don't have the depth, especially to compete with these power conference teams. And we saw it on the field already. Ole Miss and Tulane already played each other, and Ole Miss beat them by 20? I mean, it wasn't a game.
45-10. They beat them by 5 touchdowns. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't a game. We've already seen it. So, but I'm contradicting myself from what I said earlier. These are two completely different teams, but we saw it already, right? Yeah. And we're probably going to see it again in the first round, and it's going to be. And that Ole Miss environment was dead for that 45-10 game. I watched that game because I was very interested in Tulane and what they would look like against the top team. Vaughn Hemingway Stadium was dead. It is going to be rocking for 4 quarters. It's going to be rocking all day long for a playoff game. Reese Davis said it. It's the biggest game in the history of Ole Miss football.
Maybe the biggest sporting event in Mississippi State history.
It could be. So it's going to be completely different. And not saying that Tulane can't rise to the occasion, but we've seen it already, and it's going to be even more difficult for them. So I think they deserve to be in because they played the best Group of 5 conference. They showed on the field they were the best team in that conference. But you can't tell me that them or James Madison is going to win the national championship. And you can't honestly believe that either. Yeah.
Well, so Dev offers a counterpoint, and I agree with some of this. I don't think there are 8 total teams that can win a national championship, so why draw the line at JMU? It is a dangerous game
for the entire time of the playoff era.
It is a dangerous game to play by just – and Will, you were not saying this, you were using this example. It is a dangerous game to say that your total vision for what the playoffs should be is, well, if you can't win a national title, you don't belong here. That is a dangerous game to play as your sole reasoning for picking the teams why you pay. And I don't believe that you were doing that. But I think the problem with this is that what precedent are you setting for? I mean, seriously, what precedent are we setting here that a team that didn't played one Power 4 team all year and lost gets in? Dude, I like the Sun Belt. We have a person on this show that lives and breathes Sun Belt football more than we would care to acknowledge. But it's one of those things where it just doesn't make sense. I don't understand why we're doing that. So it's not that the sole reason is they can't go win the national title. That is obviously a big part of it. But it's like, what are we rewarding here? We're rewarding a team like it's a oh, you'll love this. It's a pity invite. That's exactly what it is. It's an invite essentially as a pity because the ACC couldn't hold the water. Now tomorrow night we're going to talk about the health of the ACC and what needs to happen there. But I don't get that. Like I'd rather have Notre Dame in than James Madison. I totally would rather have that.
The reason that they're in, the reason that they get this invite, it was so the SEC and Big Ten could get their way. They knew they had to give something to get what they wanted, to get to 12 teams. They had to give something. And this is the best they get. So they get I mean, this feels like gold to just say this, and this should get clipped if Tulane and James Madison win. But essentially, the Big Ten got Oregon and Ole Miss a first round bye. I mean, comparatively to the rest of the teams. Now, if Tulane and James Madison win, roll this on our first show after that. Roll that.
Yeah.
But they had to give something. The SEC and Big Ten had to give something, and this was it. And unfortunately for Notre Dame, they are the ones paying the biggest price for it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sitting here and making this a thing that Duke should have gotten in, because that would have been ridiculous to say that Duke's 4 wins or the discretion or the discrepancy of 4 losses outweighs a G5 team. That would have been crazy. But it's like, come on, like the top 5, like you know what, man, give me top 4. Just give me the top 4 conference champs. And if for some reason, Sunbelt or Conference USA or somebody else beats out the American or even Mountain West champ like Boise State last year, okay, cool. Like then rock with that. Dev says, I think a pity invite is harsh. If I was a college football commissioner, I want this because in the long run, it helps the sport and these smaller programs get better. Yeah, but once again, tricking or it's disingenuous to sit there and say that you're actually on the same level. That's the problem. It's disingenuous to that program. It's disingenuous to its fan base. It's not real. We can wish that it was an even playing field. You can wish to try to make it an even playing field. I think that's just a foundational disagreement in terms of that, though.
I'm going to let my intrusive thoughts win because I know that this is not going to go over well. If it was an even playing field, John Summerall would not be taking the Florida job. If it was an even playing field, Bob Chesney would not be taking the UCLA job. I don't know. I don't know how much better proof you need that it's not an even playing field. And these programs are not on the same level. These are 2 teams in the playoff. Their coaches are leaving to go to the SEC and the Big Ten.
The American Conference title game had both coaches with a foot out the door.
Eric Morris is going to Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. That might be a worse job than North Texas. We'll find out.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, I mean, it's just, and I know Dev says it wasn't even playing, but that's that's the insinuation that it is. It's what you're telling the teams that, oh, well, it's good that you made the playoff. Why? You didn't earn it the same. Like, you didn't do what needed to be done that Texas, Vanderbilt, BYU, like, you didn't do that. So why should you be rewarded? Bottom line, it needs to be split. Like, either you're going to go to a 16 or 24 team playoff and then you can let them in, but you got to let these SEC, Big Ten, ACC teams that go 10-2. Like, that has to be rewarded. You can't just reward something that's not as good because it's good. It's double thumbs up. That doesn't make any sense. That's not earning your way, your opportunity there. That's the thing I would say about it. And I think this guy's name is Paul, and I apologize. I don't know if it's misspelled on purpose or what it is, but Mr. Duffy says, why make it only conference? Why make it only conference championships? The schools will be trying to spread out. Why not just make it conference championships? Once again, because all conference champions are not. All conferences are not built the same. And the bottom line, Will, is you're not going to find there is no perfect system, right? Like, we've talked about this. When you went from 4 to 12, we were going to be arguing like we did today about 13, 14, 15. When you go to 16, you're going to be arguing from 16 to 20. It's the constant argument. Look, in 4 or 5 months, we're going to be talking about this with March Madness, right? It's the same concept. You know, who's the 71st best team? Who's the 72nd? Who deserves to go to Dayton and play in the tournament? It's not built. It's not equitable. You can't be equitable about it. That's the problem.
Right. Conferences are such a problem, and I think Reese Davis summed it up perfectly on their reveal show today. He said conferences are really just scheduling agreement conglomerates now. That's
because they're not regional really anymore.
No, that's basically it. I mean, you got Rutgers and USC in the same conference. They could not be geographically further apart. Could not be.
Yeah. Opposite ends of the country. Yeah.
Right. But thinking about the history, which it would be different because we learn from history. But like the SEC in the 60s, 70s, really up until the 80s, like SEC teams didn't play each other. Like Auburn and Ole Miss never played each other. Auburn and Ole Miss played each other, I think, one time in the 70s, and it was in the Gator Bowl. It was a bowl game. They were in the same conference, right? Ole Miss and Alabama didn't play each other. Bear Bryant and Johnny Vaught had a scheduling agreement that they wouldn't play each other because they thought it would hurt each other from winning a national championship. So in one way, they're good. And Dev says that conferences need to explode tomorrow. I don't think that they should. I think that we need to. I think conferences were at their best when 12 was the biggest conference. Right.
Well, they need to be downsized. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Everybody can play each other. You can determine a true champion. You can have divisions. They're too big. They're way too big. And I mean, the SEC trying to get everybody to play each other, which to me is the point of being in a conference. You can all play each other and determine who the best one is. Going with permanent opponents, but it's, I don't know. They need a lot of work. They've gotten too big for.
Well, just call it what it is. You have a super league. That's what it is now. You've got the Big Ten and the SEC in a super league, and that's what's happened. And then you add, I mean, and I think it was Dev said earlier in the comments, like blame USC and UCLA, Washington, Oregon, all that, and then blame Texas, Oklahoma. You've created a super league. That is what has created competitive imbalance. Is now that you have the biggest, and it doesn't. And this is something too. Well, I got into a conversation last night about Georgia Tech's coaching moves about this on social media. Like it doesn't, the records don't even necessarily matter. It's brand and money. It's the biggest brands of money pulling together to do what they're going to do. It's created a super league. It's created that. So that's the problem. Like if those teams were still in the Big 12 and you still had the Pac-12, okay, you've got some, you know what I mean? Like you've got 3 or 4 playoff worthy teams in the Big 10. You've got 2 or 3 in the Pac-12, 2 or 3 in the 12. Now I guarantee you, not everyone would be happy. You wouldn't have this concept of SEC bias as big as it has been because you would have had at least 3 playoff teams in this. I mean, look at it. Oregon would be a Pac-12 representative. Oklahoma would have been a Big 12 representative. You would have had several from that. So that's the problem is that you have these conferences are way too big. You've formed a super league, and now you've got the Big 12. Like the Big 12, they got 1 team in. The ACC got 1 team in, not in their conference champ. It's what has happened. You can blame your commit. And Will and I've been we didn't confront him on the field at SMU, but we've been very adamant about the leadership of the ACC. But it's a problem. Like it's a problem, and the ACC and the Big 12 are left behind. Now, I do think the Big 12 does a lot of great things in terms of their lead. I think their leadership is much better than the ACC's. But it's just one of those things where you have a super league, and until you break that monopoly up, this is what's going to happen. It's what's going to be. And I'm not advocating for it. I don't love it. I think you've said it too. Like we've got a friend who tunes in from time to time, a friend of the show, TriStar, who wants Southwest Conference back. I mean, get regional, play in your region, and do that. Like I'll say this too, and Rhett Lashley says this constantly, and a lot of coaches say this. Joey McGuire said it post-game after on the stage. There's, high school football. Look at that. Well, guess what? Because they play regional. You can't have a true playoff system in what we have right now because there's no rhyme or reason to why you're playing who other than, like you said, Big Ten and SEC have scheduling alliances with each other that they're going to play against each other. So, yeah, that's where we kind of end it with that in terms of this. Here's a statement from Hunter Yurchek. He goes, once we moved Miami ahead of BYU, we had that side-by-side comparison with Notre Dame that everyone had been hungering for. The one metric we had to fall back on was the head-to-head playoff chair, Hunter Yurchek. I mean, just blow the whole committee up. I mean, there's probably some great people that live in Grapevine, Texas. That town needs to be absolutely just wiped off. Like, let's just rid our hands of whatever that's happening in that
force
city.
The committee to meet somewhere else. They're giving Grapevine, Texas a bad name.
It's bad. I'm sure there's lovely people, probably great food, lovely people in that city, but no one likes that town. Will, let's talk about first round previews, not necessarily in terms of what they are, but Ross Dellinger tweeted out about 30 minutes ago the first round schedule. Friday night, Alabama is going to be going to Oklahoma. This is December 19th, 8 p.m. kickoff. between the Tide, and it is crazy to me that Oklahoma is not a favorite as the higher seed at home in a night game.
Yep.
Wild. That's crazy. Saturday, your noon kickoff, which is this is brutal, man. Miami at Texas A&M is at noon. Tulane at Ole Miss at 3:30. JMU at Oregon at 7:30. Luckily, I'll have a family Christmas party that I won't have to watch the shellacking that happens in Eugene. But good God, that's ridiculous. First round previews. Which game are you most excited for? What game are you excited to watch?
In round one, it's Miami, Texas A&M.
Me too.
I think that's the most intriguing matchup here. I think on paper, I think it should be the most competitive. It's one we haven't seen before. It's a matchup we've seen in recent years, but I mean, man, I can't believe I'm going to take a Brian Kelly line here. Or actually, no, I'm refuting. I'm going the opposite of Brian Kelly. I was just reminded that he said that when he said this team, LSU's won 18 home night games or whatever he said before he was let go. None of that matters. The 2025 season is all that matters in college football. I think that's part of the beauty of it. Like we saw Miami and Texas A&M play a home and home the last couple of years. Those games do not matter. All that matters is this year's teams, the 2025 teams playing up against each other. I think it'll be the best matchup. I'm not as intrigued by Alabama at Oklahoma because we've already seen that. And it'll probably be another ugly win for Oklahoma. And I think sorry, Maxwell, but I think Oklahoma are frauds. I felt that way all year. They can't score points, but they'll beat you 6-3 and be happy about it. Which is beautiful, I think. In the era of high-powered offenses, it's beautiful to see somebody play defense like they do. But I think Miami, Texas A&M is going to be a lot of fun.
Man, I know we talked about this last year, and to your point, I'm right there with you. Miami, Texas A&M. I'm intrigued to watch Tulane and Ole Miss. Like it's one. And look, I mean, I cover LSU for a living. Oxford's going to be on fire. Like it is going to be rocking. I was there earlier this year. It's a great atmosphere for a smaller stadium. They do a great job. But it's Texas A&M, Miami. If that was a night game, give me the Aggies by 50. I mean, I just like it, and that's just vibes. Having been in that stadium, it is what it is. Just saw Gavin's comment in the private chat. Dev, I like you, so you're not getting banned, but that was a brutal comment to read and put up on the screen. But real quick, so this is the last year. And see, Will, God, you remember playing NCAA 14. Shout out. I don't know if Will remembers this. When it came out that you could essentially hack your PS3 and get the new college football game on.
If I remember this, we did this together.
We did this together, and Will remembers. And I'm not trying to be type of way about it. There was some weird Arabian Nights music happening that we had to shut off. We were concerned of what we had just done on our PS3. But anyways, all that to say is you remember bowl tie-ins, right? Like, and we grew up on that, and it's this is the last year, by the way, of those contracts. So it's the last year that the SEC has the Sugar Bowl. The Big Ten has the Rose Bowl. So, for example, those first-round bye teams, Ohio State, Indiana, Texas Tech, Georgia. Ohio State will play on New Year's Eve at 7:30, the Cotton Bowl. Texas Tech gets the Orange Bowl, which kind of sucks. Texas Tech, they'd have gotten the Cotton Bowl. It's order of preference, by the way. That'd been cool. Indiana in the Rose Bowl at 4 p.m. and then New Year's Day, Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. So I've always loved the traditional bowl tie-ins. We know the ACC goes the Orange Bowl, and the Fiesta was like a Big 12, and then like one of your at-large teams was always fun. So, God, I might go plug in the PS3 and just play the BCS again. That would be a lot of fun. So there's that. The one thing I wanted to get to is some bowl games are being put out here, Will. So let's end the show with this.
The full schedule is out at 3:00, right?
Mm-hmm. And obviously, Brett McMurphy's been leaking them since last week. So Texas and Michigan in the Citrus Bowl. Bryce Underwood against Arch Manning. That's going to have an interesting one. Penn State is going to play in the Pinstripe Bowl. The Music City Bowl.
Big game in Atlanta next week. The Cricket Celebration Bowl. South Carolina State against Prairie View A&M.
Shout out former Valdosta State head coach.
I will not be there, thankfully.
ReliaQuest Bowl is the SEC. I was in the ReliaQuest Bowl. One thing I'm not looking forward to is if LSU does indeed go, which the thought process is that LSU is going to Nashville for the Music City Bowl. They're going to play Brett Bielema, who's going to make a massive deal out of the game and probably eat Blake Baker on the field. And so,
What?
yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. So
I think we need to send Ralph to Mobile for the '68 Ventures Bowl, Louisiana and Delaware.
Louisiana and Delaware. I mean, that's just talk about two opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of the culture fits at those two schools. That's crazy. The intriguing aspect is the SEC is not able to fill out their bowl things, and so or their bowl invitations or tie-ins. The Mayo Bowl could feature ACC versus ACC, and I saw a prediction that was Virginia and Georgia Tech going to the Mayo Bowl, or Georgia Tech and Troy, which would just be a bloodbath.
As a traditionalist, that is disgusting.
Disgusting, man.
Two teams in the same conference should not be playing each other in a bowl game.
Yeah.
The beauty of bowl season is different matchups.
I'm gonna tell you this, man. I love bowl season. I love it. I love bowl games. I hope they always stay. I remember shout out Capital One Bowl Week. You used to watch it when because you know what, we used to get out of school and we watch those that random bowl game, the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl. You know, all those great
Potato Bowl.
I know. What are some all time? What are some all time bowl names? I don't know. Bahamas Bowl, rest in peace, is gone. I don't know.
I see the Frisco Bowl has a sponsor now. It's the Xbox Bowl.
Just brutal.
I hate that. I hate
it too. Let's see if there's any other bowls being announced. But Texas and Michigan in that bowl is crazy.
Throwback? How about the old Tampa Bowl, the Beef O'Brady's Bowl, played in Tropicana Field?
Are you ever eaten at a Beef O'Brady's?
No.
So
no,
I have. It's actually pretty good. It sounds like it's just a place that serves like canned Campbell's beef stew, and that's not what it is. It's actually pretty good. AFAT says, well, in the ACC, if you play a conference game in a bowl game, there's a good chance you haven't played each other yet.
You could play each other in the regular season. It's not a conference game. I mean, the ACC is not real.
Look, we're going to dive into that tomorrow night. What is happening? The ACC needs massive overhaul in its leadership. And I'm not even trying to laugh about it. Sorry, Dan. I'm not trying to laugh about it. It's just one of those things where it's like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Beef O'Brady's. All-time bowl names. I got to find that real quick.
I don't even know. Rate Bowl? God, what an awful name. So Bad Boy Mowers now sponsors the Pinstripe Bowl. So that's new.
You used to have the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Ugh, this is like a word salad. Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl.
The Champ Sports Bowl. Is Champ Sports still a thing? Is that still in the mall in Columbus?
I don't know. I don't go to the mall.
Yeah, the GoDaddy.com Bowl.
Some of these bowl sponsors are crazy. I love Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, but I've never watched it because it's on CBS.
Shout out to a long time ago. You had the Cigar Bowl, St. Thomas against Missouri Valley in Tampa. The Rhodey's Humanitarian Bowl. You know what I miss? Okay, this is one from our childhood. I miss the Outback Bowl, where one of the winners got a bloomin' onion, the other one got something else.
That was like the game Auburn always played in. Is this real? Pool and Weed Eater Independence Bowl?
I sometimes wish the Independence Bowl wasn't real in general, but
this is before our time, so we wouldn't know. But is that a real sponsorship?
You had the Raisin Bowl in the 40s.
Dev, if y'all keep donating, maybe one day we can have the Crowded Booth Bowl.
There we go. The San Diego Country Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl. The Poinsettia Bowl was a good one.
That was a good one. Maybe one day we can have the Crowded Booth Celebration Bowl.
Brought to you by whatever. Yeah, I'm with you.
Brought to you by whatever.
Brought to you by whatever. The R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. Is the Chick-fil-A Bowl not a thing anymore? It's just the Peach Bowl.
It's the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. No, they combined names.
The Meineke Car Care Bowl.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. Wasn't that the one in Detroit?
I think it was.
Ford Field, and then it became the Little Caesars Bowl.
GalleryFurniture.com Bowl. I mean, that's horrible. Yeah, the Poulan Weed Eater Independence Bowl. Good Jesus. The 1990 Oh my gosh! Here, the Gaylord Hotel Music City Bowl presented by Bridgestone.
That's entirely too long.
Crazy. The Kraft Fight Hunger Bowl. Golly, remember that? Shout out Kraft mac and cheese. That's all Gavin eats, actually. Just Kraft mac and cheese, the microwavable kind. So hey, no, look, social playoff reaction show, just nuts. Bottom line, well, I'm kind of okay with it. Like, is that weird to say? Like, I'm not really mad about any of this.
Well, I was texting a friend before as the rankings were coming out, and he was giving his thoughts. And I was like, I really don't even care. It's roster retention watch season for me. As far as I'm concerned, 2025 season is over. I'm locked in. It's a new era at Auburn. So
Auburn did turn down a bowl invite, so
as they should. You should not be invited if you only win 5 games. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but what about the teams that earn the right to be in a bowl game? Now they have no one to play.
Well, they get 15 free practices. Auburn doesn't even have a roster to practice with, so I mean that's why Auburn didn't want to do it.
Nicole Auerbach says this is the worst selection committee we've ever had. Cannot believe Alabama didn't even drop one spot after the SEC title game blowout. Cannot believe they waited until the final reveal to flip Miami Notre Dame. Could have done at any point. That's the worst part. The committee makes no sense. I don't have a problem with the actual playoff. The committee's logic, there is no logic. That's the problem. That's the issue with that. So
there's none.
Tomorrow night, we'll talk ACC leadership. What has to happen for this league to get it right and to not even have your best teams featured in the title game? It's just abysmal. So we appreciate you. Thanks so much for tuning in. Gavin in the background, Will Maness. My name is Bryce Koon. We will make sure that you like, subscribe, continue to grow the platform. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you tomorrow night, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.